you've been told that you must be grateful you have this beautiful child now. And I really struggled. I really did struggle to settle in. And I started to realize that I was going to be a specific type of mom. I was not an earth mama. I wasn't going to be that type of mom. I am what I've found from someone called Lucy Pierce. I'm a rainbow mother, and I am here to inspire her and show her a different way, and her to show me a different way, and we help heal each other. And it's been one of the most beautiful journeys. And our connection has really developed more as she grew, as I was able to let go of certain things that she brought up for me. And I think that's what being a parent is often about, is starting to see our children as our teachers. And she really has been one of my greatest teachers and helped me heal from many inner child healing that I needed.
Welcome to the Wildflower Diaries Show, where we have meaningful conversations and contemplations to bring you back to life. I'm Beth Schneider, your host and guide, to help you along your healing journey and to really start living life fully. We have forgotten that we are the builders, creators, weavers, lovers, visionaries and dreamers. Through these discussions, learn and implement practices to remember and reconnect to all of who you are. Your body, intuition, power, heart, voice, mind and magic are ready to be reclaimed so that you can make ripple effects of change that you know deep down you are made for. Let's get started with this week's episode.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the Wildflower Diaries Show. Today I'm going to be speaking about healing from birth, miscarriage, grief, and loss. Quite big topics that are close to my heart, and wanted to speak a bit more about what I see in the birthing space. I'm now 39 weeks pregnant. So I'm about to have another baby. So what I experienced with my first child with birth there, and having a miscarriage, and the grief that goes with motherhood, I suppose, and loss. So let's get into it. So I have my daughter Chloe, who is 6 years old now. And when I delivered her, I had a very different pregnancy to the one that I'm currently have right now. I was still working in corporate. I just started my healing journey. I started at 7 months pregnant. I went and retrained and did a coaching certification that I started doing while I was pregnant with her, and continued all my training afterwards. So I really went from working in corporate to a completely different life when I had Chloe. I wasn't present in my body for that pregnancy at all. And actually around 6 months pregnant, I had a small car accident while I was traveling, still for work, that I was about to leave because now I was going through my own sort of withdrawal process. And it was a kind of wake up call that it was time to kind of let go and start moving forward towards this new life that I wanted to create for myself. So Chloe really was brought about a lot of change in that sense. I'd had a burnout before I fell pregnant with her, and I decided as soon as I did have a baby, I would leave and start this new path. So when I had Chloe, I ended up having a cesarean section. She had the cord wrapped around her body. Some people will say that I could have still delivered her naturally, but that is the path that went down for our birth. And I think what I found the most difficult about that birth is there was no explanation of how difficult it would be to recover from a cesarean section. It was made to sound that it was just normal, and I really struggled to recover afterwards. Mainly physically, but I think emotionally there was a lot more that came from it, because obviously now here I am, sat at home with a baby after having this high-flying career, completely decided to change my life. And I'm like, what on earth has just happened? And I started to realize that my whole self-worth had been literally built up around this persona of myself that I had developed. And Chloe was a huge part of healing from letting go of my self-worth being attached to anything outside of myself and learning to rebuild that from within. And I have to thank her for that, because honestly, it was difficult. The first 6 months, I really struggled to connect. I went through postpartum rage. It was very a difficult time. And you've been told that you must be grateful you have this beautiful child now. And I really struggled. I really did struggle to settle in. And I started to realize that I was going to be a specific type of mom. I was not an earth mama. I wasn't going to be that type of mom. I am what I've found from someone called Lucy Pierce. I'm a rainbow mother, and I am here to inspire her and show her a different way, and her to show me a different way, and we help heal each other. And it's been one of the most beautiful journeys, and our connection has really developed more as she grew, as I was able to let go of certain things that she brought up for me. And I think that's what being a parent is often about, is starting to see our children as our teachers. And she really has been one of my greatest teachers and helped me heal from many inner child healing that I needed. So Chloe came along as a whirlwind. We call her our clonado, and she completely she just completely brought me into a new space, and will forever be grateful to her for that. But I think what I realized during that time was that there is things in the birthing space that need to be discussed. So after Chloe, I fell pregnant again, about 3 years later, and it was one of the most interesting, most spiritual experiences I've had. Actually, I had this connection to the soul that I was carrying, and at the time I decided that I was going to change gynaes, because the lady that I'd seen before had moved to a hospital quite far away, and I could only see someone at 11 weeks. So I just trusted that it would be fine, and went ahead with booking that, and was going to decide on my journey of how I would birth from there. But I had this connection to the soul that I was carrying. I'd named her. There was something connecting us, and I really started to get excited about this baby that was going to come. And when I went for the checkup, it turned out that it was a blighted ovum, and within 2-3 days later, I miscarried. And I think this what happened during that time period was, obviously this is a new gynae. I'd never met her before. I didn't know her, so she gave me the option of having a D&C or letting it happen naturally. I don't know why, but I decided to go down the D&C route, and I turned up on the day, and I already had started to miscarry already. So I was by myself in the hospital, miscarrying and waiting for this procedure to happen. And I think it was really, like, I felt so alone during that time. There was a lot of things that came up afterwards, because then you go in for this surgery where you just get conked out. I woke up, no one was there. Like, the nurse came in and said, okay, you can go now. And that was it. I didn't see the gynae again. I didn't hear from her again, nothing. And I found that there's a lack of I know that gynaes must see it a lot, but there was definitely a lack of knowing how to support someone through that kind of loss. And that's what happened after that is, because I had such a spiritual connection to the soul, I felt like it was okay. I didn't grieve straight away. I didn't get upset straight away, because I still felt the sort of presence of the spirit with me. And this is also around the time that I had slowly started to claiming myself as a healer instead of just a coach, because I'm both. I'm a coach, but I'm a healer. And I started, a lot of my gifts started to come online, and starting to feel the presence of the spiritual realm. And that can sound weird to some, but that is what happened for me. And I found that this connection that I had to her made me feel like she would still come, so it was okay. And I went through a process after that really completely changed my life. And this miscarriage was one of the biggest healings that ever happened for me, to be honest. And this is why I wanted to speak about it today, because I think a lot of people have been through miscarriages and loss of children and have not actually healed or gone for healing because of it. Because, we've kind of just been told to get on with it. It happens. It's normal. You'll have another baby, and people sit with that pain alone, and there's a lot of pain that comes from it, and a lot of grief that comes from it, that many people haven't had the opportunity to actually heal from, and have really just been sat at home, sent home and told to just get on with it, and it's really quite sad, to be honest, that is how we treat the loss, whether it happens that early on or even much later on. It's a loss at the end of the day. And what I found was, after a certain amount of time, I felt there was something deeper that needed healing around the miscarriage. And I have my mentor Joy, that is also who I go to for healing when I feel like it's something I can't work through myself. And that session for me, I've never been the same again. It was, and everyone has their own beliefs about past lives, so take what you want from this. We all will get what we need for us to personally heal. So what came up for me was I was connected to the spirit that I was feeling, and that she actually came back for a reason. She came back to remind me of certain things that I needed to heal from, in order to open my heart again and to reclaim my own magic that I had switched off and I'd closed my heart off on a spiritual level and fragmented at a spiritual level that I was not aware of, and so I will forever be grateful. I call her Maya, that's her name, for coming and being and showing me that I had closed my heart off and I wasn't even aware of it, and then I'd close off the magic of who I am because of it, and it's really been such a journey after that of literally becoming a healer, reclaiming my magic, opening up my heart. And I'll be forever grateful to her too for coming and doing that for me. And so I really feel that if you've been through miscarriage and you've been through a loss, that deeper healing is needed. That is a soul that's come for a reason, and even it's come for a reason, and I really believe it's worth for you to go and understand what that is, so you can come to peace. Because a lot of people end up feeling haunted almost by these situations, because that spirit needs to be acknowledged, and it needs to give you the message that it came to give you. And I found, I've never been the same since. And the grief that came over me afterwards, I sat with it for I've still grieved sometimes, because I had to accept that she actually wasn't coming back, like she was coming to remind me. And I grieved, and I really grieved, and that grief literally cracked my heart open in ways that I cannot explain. And I feel grief is such a big part of motherhood that does not get spoken about. You firstly have the grief of losing parts of yourself when you first become a mother, and you end up feeling like you're not yourself. You're not the same. You lose things that don't get spoken about, and you're just told to be grateful and appreciative of this amazing child that is now in your life. But we do need to grieve what we've left behind, and that is often the process that comes out in rage, and it comes out in depression, and it's actually because we've not acknowledged the grief of letting go of a part of ourselves, of letting go of a time in our life. And I feel grief is something that we think only comes with loss, but grief is actually something that comes with change. And many people are grieving and don't even realize that it's grief, because when we're going through big transitions from one time of our life to another, grief is usually like so present. And it's a profound emotion because it shows up differently for each person. It will stick around the time it needs to for each person. It goes through its stages for each person. And there's no like trying to push your way through it. You actually have to allow it to wash over you. And the more you're able to do that, the more it is it will open your heart, will crack your heart open, because grief is so much closer to love than anything else. It is a form of love. So allowing ourselves to actually grieve those transitions in our life and not just be like, oh, I'm a mom now. Actually have a ceremony for the women you left behind, because yes, we can continue our lives, but we will not ever be the same again. Becoming a mother changes you in so many ways. And if you accept that and accept that your children are actually going to help you heal and become they're part of your mission and your purpose in the world, then it really makes a huge difference to actually grieve it. And then again, like with the miscarriage, instead of just being like, oh, well, it happens to a lot of people, I'll grieve, allow yourself to be sad about it, because it doesn't matter if it happens to lots of people. It happened to you, and it's okay for you to grieve about it and to allow yourself to be changed, because you will be changed because of it, regardless of what anyone says. And some people have been through multiple miscarriages, grieve them all, and I know that sometimes we feel like we don't have the space for it, because it can feel like this ocean that we're stuck in and that we're going to get consumed in it and pulled down. But actually allow the waves to crash over you. If you allow that, you won't get sunk in. It just washes over you, and eventually there's this feeling afterwards of peace and of your heart of you not being the same again, and that I won't ever be the same person again. And that is the gift. That is the gift. So I feel like really after that miscarriage, I did grieve, and that had that profound healing, and I've never been the same again. But I've stepped into my purpose, and I've really I've been through initiation to become a healer. I'm making a difference in people's lives, and I see people's lives change in front of my eyes, and I'm like, wow, this is what it's all about. And I'm helping people reclaim their magic like I've reclaimed my own. And I'm still on a journey of that. I still struggle sometimes, and I will continue to, because I believe healing is something I will do for the rest of my life, because I'm also here to heal my lineage. But at the end of the day, like, it's really been a gift to be able to open my heart like that, and love in a way that I didn't even realize was possible. And then I'm now pregnant, so I'm going to go through another birth process again and another grief process again. And I have already been going through deep grief for the world, being a sensitive being and a healer. I've been grieving for the world right now, and I think a lot of people in that space of grief for the world, and everything that's happening in the world right now. And don't turn that grief off. It's what makes us human. And like I said, it's closer to love than it is love. Grief is love. And I think at the end of the day, if you allow yourself to grieve and not just turn a blind eye, it will be so much better than just turning your humanity off and being like, okay, well, I can't handle this right now. And some people just can't handle this right now. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people are in situations where they're wondering where their next meal is going to come from. They're grieving for themselves in that space. Yeah. But if you are in a space where you have enough space to grieve for for the world, and you are feeling heavy, just know that that's come to you for a reason. We are transmuting so much through ourselves right now, and that grief is something that it's going to turn into love, and that's what is needed now more than ever. And I'm speaking about that a lot now more than ever, because we're in such a big turning point as humanity, and we have a choice to make. We have a choice of whether we're going to continue with the status quo and probably not be able to turn back, or whether we're going to change and bring about something better for ourselves and for our children. And a lot of the healing we do is for them. It is for them. I really feel that when we do healing, it affects our lineage from the backwards and forwards, and it does make a difference. It's for them too that we do this work. So don't stop the grief. Is what I'm saying, is allow that grief to wash over you, and allow it to be messy if it needs to be. We really try to control everything and keep it all together, but sometimes it just needs to be messy, and it's okay if it is. And allow it, because sometimes what feels like falling apart is actually you falling together and wholeness coming within you, and you'll only even know that at the other side of it, when it just feels like something's exploded inside of you and you've expanded. And I suppose what I've really found now with this new pregnancy is, again, it's been quite a tough pregnancy, and I've had some health issues come up, and again, it's just healing. It's healing, I believe. And it's also, I spoke about in one of the previous episodes, how a lot of inner team healing came from this particular pregnancy. But what I have found is that this time around, I have been looking to do what's called a VBAC. So, and I'm a healer that walks the mid path. I walk the way of love. Some people call it the beauty way, the way of love, the mid path. Okay, and that's looking at all sides of everything and finding the middle. And that's not like meaning that you need to now like be completely neutral about things. I think what I have done is I've looked at the fact that we have the birthing world, where there's the actual medical side of it, and where there's a lot of harm that's happened, but there is a lot of good that's come from some of the stuff there too. And then you've got the other side of the spectrum, where there's free birth, and if you don't birth a certain way, then you're doing it wrong. And I think there's a lot of pressure on also how you birth that has been coming, that I've seen a lot during this pregnancy specifically, especially being part of the sort of overall industry, where healing kind of fits into it some way, and I have seen that there's a lot of shaming that happens if you're not on the other camp, and there's a lot of like my way is the only way and the right way that happens, and it doesn't give space for the fact that when you are birthing, it's not just you that decides how it happens. There's another soul involved in that scenario that also has a say in how they want to be birthed, because it's also part of their initiation into life. So I've really had to let go of trying to control this birth and control how it unfolds. There is a big possibility that I might end up having a cesarean section, but I've had to let go of trying to control it and being okay with whatever also he decides is the time for him to arrive, how he wants to do it, and that's been a very big healing in itself, is learning to let go of full control. You can have the best birth plan that you can consider, but if the baby decides they need something else, that they're gonna come the way they need to come. And yes, there is sometimes unnecessary interference that does happen from a medical perspective, which I have seen in this pregnancy. But I think a big part of this has been learning to use my voice and actually stand up and say, and advocate for myself in a system that can be quite rigid. And I think a lot of women don't, that is part of the birthing process, is learning how to advocate for ourselves and our children, because before becoming a mother, sometimes depending on each person, a lot of us have been brought up to be people pleasers and good girls that just accept what has been given to us, and so I really felt like this particular pregnancy and this period that I'm now going into, where there'll be new birth and new grief, has been really about learning to use my voice and advocating for myself and for other people. And grief has been present as well. Grief has been there through it all. So really just encouraging people to just lean into that, lean into the fact that we don't control all of it, lean into doing the best we can, lean into that imperfect parenting with love, and lean into just knowing that all of it is part of our purpose, that sometimes one of our biggest purposes is to birth these babies into the world. And it's not for everyone. Not everyone is meant to be a parent. I truly believe that. But for those who are called to it, know that it is one of your greatest purposes, and that you have everything you need inside of you. And healing is going to come from this process, and it's going to hurt and it's going to be messy, but it's going to be beautiful. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. Speak soon. Bye.